Monsieur Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bësal mu fay.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave acts in Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills, and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Bësal mu fine. Wave, your money is yours.
Our Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Welcome back. We are with Mr. Halifa Saleh. He's a neighbor. We live not far apart at Serekunda, and for many years he was my National Assembly representative. Now, since announcing on Monday that he was going to be the guest here, one constant message that kept coming was about his future. I'll read just one of several text messages received. Message to Honorable Halifa Saleh. Dear Honorable Saleh, warm greetings to you. I hope this message reaches you in peace and good health. As one of the many young Gambians who deeply admire your principles and lifelong dedication to truth, justice, and the empowerment of the people, I feel compelled to respectfully share a heartfelt reflection. You once assured us that the last presidential election would mark your final contest, a promise many of us took not only as a political stance, but as a reflection of your unmatched integrity and unwavering commitment to your word. It is in that spirit that I humbly encourage you to stand by that promise, not because we doubt your capacity or vision, but precisely because we trust and revere your character. Your decision not to return as a presidential candidate would be a powerful reminder that politics can be led by principle, not just ambition. More importantly, it would pave the way for a new generation of leaders within DOI, mentored and guided by your wisdom. If you were to return to the race, it might unintentionally signal that no one else is capable of carrying forward the torch you've lit so brightly, which we believe is not the case. Please know that I speak not from a place of doubt, but from deep respect and admiration. You have always been a symbol of dignity and truth in our politics, and I pray you continue to be the guiding light for both your party and the nation at large. With profound respect and gratitude, Aliou Cisse. Let me go to another one received from someone writing from the U.S. overnight, and of course, chastising West Coast Radio in the process. Dear Mr. Gomez, I saw on social media that Honorable Halifa Saleh will be the guest on your show tomorrow. His recent media tours have raised concerns about his response to the question of whether he has reneged on his commitment to not contest for any elective office after the 2021 presidential election. DOI members have been having an internal debate on the way forward for the party since 2018. Unfortunately, the media such as yours have ignored these public internal criticisms of the leadership of the DOI party. And this is from Musa Kamara in the US. Where does Honorable Halifa Saleh now stand on his promise, as reported, not to run for elective office again?
Well, thank you very much. In fact, this is the big question, a question that must be continued to be asked. The significant thing about the question itself and what you have just read shows at least a force that I need to convince. But the other force which is saying, I should come back, let's leave those ones. I've taught the whole country, and I know the demand for Halifa Saleh to come back. And I want those people to understand that these two issues that he has raised, one from a very intelligent and refined way of putting it, and the other a crude way of putting it, and I know the crude person who is actually putting it in that crude way, there is no problem. We know that this is not an issue for Doi. It has been settled within our party that Halifa Saleh cannot bring himself back to contest election. That's not the Doi way. Doi selects its presidential candidate through a primary. So no one knows who is going to be a Doi candidate. And even if Halifa Saleh wanted to be a Doi candidate, Halifa Saleh cannot impose himself on Doi. So this matter is settled within Doi. Doi members, true members of Doi, know very well that no person can be a presidential candidate by imposing himself. And that for 3 consecutive elections, Sidia Jatta was the candidate and not Halifa Saleh. So Halifa Saleh is not an issue for Doi in terms of whether he will or he will not be the next candidate for the party. I hope that is clear. Doi does not have that problem. Anybody who tells you that there's an internal problem in Doi, know that that is not a fact. Now, going to the issue, Peter, I said that I am done with standing for election before the presidential election. I said it. And not only saying it, I said it with real contemplation and content. Because my conscience became clear. What I have always struggled for, I achieved. At the age of 16 and a half, I became tormented after hearing Stokely Carmichael with Mary Makeba speaking to a group of people at Crab Island School, showing the suffering of the people of African descent and people in Africa. And the question became, who will liberate us? Will something drop from the sky to liberate us? The answer was no. Who will liberate us? We must do it ourselves. When we say we, I am part of it. I made that commitment at that early age that I will live day and night to work for that. Nobody has ever seen me sitting somewhere chatting since I came back into this country. Nobody has seen me seek pleasure anywhere. Nothing has been my work in this country than to learn and practice to work to end the suffering of our people. Total commitment to country and people. Emphatically, I said that I was done with standing for elections. And why did I say it? With a clear conscience. I saw the suffering. We went into coalition building, NAD, etc., etc. And the most tormenting period was when one Dudu Sonko of blessed memory, who the mother brought to me and said, "He's my son, he's in your hands." Jane Sonko, a very dignified woman, when I was in social welfare. The son called and said, my mother is abducted. Abducted? He said, these people saying that certain people must be tested whether they are witches or not, came and they did all these ceremonies, and then she was taken away. Foraya was reporting on it, but here was direct evidence. I called the office of the vice president and said, now I have direct evidence of somebody who has been abducted with the view of giving that person hallucinogenic drinks. Then the following morning, Foria published it. Then when I called the State House again, she said, well, since it has been published, I'm sure everybody will be aware. Because I wanted to know whether the state was behind it, because there were soldiers and security forces supporting these people. Then I started the battle. Late at night, I reflected and I spoke to my wife that how can I, Halifa Saleh, be in the Gambia telling people that they are sovereign. Sovereignty resides in them. They have power to elect and remove governments from office, that they should do so. And I campaign with that. And for somebody in his or her private home being abducted by strangers and taken to a place unknown to family for days, and all of a sudden release. I remember when I went to Makumbaya, an elderly man who was a supporter of the government was lying. And this man was just coming, retired, coming from the woods, and he was abducted, taken. By the time they finished with him, they had to carry him to the house. He could not walk to the house.
What happened to him?
Because he was made to drink hallucinogenic drugs of all sorts.
Was it the Kube Jara everybody believed it was served?
Well, you know, I would not go into analysis of what it was, but this is what happened is precisely at the end of the day. I could understand, and he had children in the security forces, a very prominent family. Mm. So, to answer your question, I asked myself that question. And people should understand that the reason why we join coalitions and all this is to achieve one purpose: to liberate the Gambian, to make the Gambian sovereign. And 2016, we brought about the change. A most powerful president left the shores of the Gambia. Why? Because of the votes of the people and the force behind the vote. And many people say, well, it is ECOWAS with its power, that's why Jammeh left power. That's not true. That is not true, Gambians. It is the vote of the Gambian and the power behind the vote that made Jammeh to concede. Before we talk about ECOWAS, Jammeh had already conceded. I sat in my house. IEC called to me and said that somebody from the State House wanted to talk to me. I said, yes, the person can go ahead. And it happened to be Honorable Bala Jahumpa. He said, I'm in the State House with Echi. He wants to talk to Adama Barrow to concede. I said, because we kept him where we kept him at that time. I was his spokesperson, so I was the visible person.
Adama Barrow, that is.
So I was wondering what was on. But I called him anyway and said, well, this is what is said. So let's wait for the call. All of us had the call. All Gambians had the call. Was ECOWAS involved? Nobody was involved. The coalition had no support from a government, no assurance. So he conceded. It is afterwards that he had two minds, but the work was already done. So for me, it was a life and death struggle.
And the point has to be made that it was on the basis of the concession that ECOWAS and
anything else,
other countries
anything else
acted.
followed.
If there was no concession before,
anything
nothing
else,
would have happened.
anything else followed. Anything else followed. Anything else followed. So that should be clear to Gambians, that we did a Gambian thing and it succeeded.
This was made in the Gambia.
Thank you very much. And then the process of the impasse, we controlled it. We told ECOWAS, don't act here until the 18th of January, because that's when his term expires. Before that, he is the legitimate president of the Republic of the Gambia. And they understood that. So we guided the process with knowledge, with commitment, with love for nation and people. So eventually, the rest is going to be history, written and digested.
Will you be part
by
of
the people.
Will you be part of those who will be writing the rest?
Without doubt.
Okay.
It's already written. So what is important now is my decision. When that happened, the additional thing that we could have done for the Gambia is the 3-year transition, which we wanted to properly manage so that we can quickly have constitutional reform, institutional reform, conduct civic education, especially education of civil servants and people in the security forces, because you have the civil service and the security service. You needed to give them all the orientation to prepare for the new Gambia that some of us envisage. Then your radio stations would have had the blessing of ensuring that day and night we educate the Gambian people on the constitutional processes and everything that would have been done at that time, because we did not have that opportunity. I remember the 1996 draft. I was there with Haruna Drame and Baturu, and we were at Radio 1 FM trying to explain to people what this was. So the idea was we could have engaged in a nationwide process of helping people in a new constitution, etc., etc., etc. And finally, then all parties would have been on a level ground in order for us to give Gambia a new start. For me, that was what I thought the transition would do. And then the truth and reconciliation would have been done. And then within 3 years, everything would have been done, and we would reconcile, the families who have been victimized and who have been aggrieved. All would have been properly compensated, and we'll start the religious leaders. You've seen what Bishop Tutu had done in South Africa. South Africa, of all countries.
And you're saying all this is doable in 3 years? Because the argument after the 3 years didn't stand was that it was impossible to achieve all this in 3 years.
That's what I'm saying. You've seen what happened in South Africa. And the role, Bishop Tutu will cry because of the horrible things that were done. That's the healing process of a nation. And all that you could have continued to play on TV, etc., and you could have seen how repentant people would have been. How much you will hate to live that history if you have done that. That is sufficient. And within 3 years, Gambia would have reconciled. And then we go back to election with people who are well groomed to know that, hey, we are going to jealously guard our constitution, our institution, our gain. The society we have created, this united Gambia without any divisions, is what we want the next government to protect for us. That was the objective for me. maybe not for others, call them and ask them what they are. That was the objective for me. Peter, when that failed to happen, I started to reflect on what I could do at the National Assembly. And then there too, when I saw what happened in 2020 with the Constitution, I said, well, we have liberated the Gambia. We have broken the chains that bound the hands. It's left to the chain of the mind. So therefore, that was the end of my journey. And I announced it in good faith that I'm going to the election, win 5 years to do what the transition should have done. Not winning, well, Gambia will know that Halifa Sallah will go with a clear conscience. Not to sit, but to continue to work, to build Gambians who are love country and people, to write. That's why all these books are written, and many more being written, and to work to build DOI so that it consolidates, because DOI had destroyed itself by working for the liberation of Gambians, because people used to say, "Kata munu fe gene bur, kata keso buka mansa boindi." That's what got into the heads of people. That's why the coup d'etat was the only change that Gambia knew, through force. And nobody ever believed that we can remove Jammeh here. I'm sorry, I don't want to. Ex-President Jammeh with votes. Nobody believed that. So that was the mentality. So we joined coalitions precisely to at least have, for the first time, to have regime change of face. Let the people see that their votes can bring about the change, and then we move into change of system. That was the objective. So in short, I have attained what I wanted to attain. What brought about this new discussion? Someone said that even if Halifa, if the Gambian people want Halifa, why would I would not understand why he would accept to come back.
Is that Cedia?
It does not matter. And then I reflected on everything that has happened everywhere we go during our tour. People expect, you're coming back. We want you to come back. I remember Fitzgerald said, the person said, well, come back. If you cannot come back, give us a person like you. Fine. That's what I've heard. Come back. What should I say? I will not come back. I've told you this. Then what type of leader am I? A leader must address the aspirations of people. Those who do not want Halifa Sallah to come back, they have their aspiration. Those who want Halifa Sallah to come back, they have their aspiration. So what is my position? My position is very clear. Now, the future of Gambia is in all our hands. I am saying what I stood for and ready to die for, love of country and people, and to save them from poverty, from injustice, from ignorance, is what I will stand for until I enter the entrails of my grave. That is a lifelong commitment. To be a President, National Assembly member, whatever these positions are, will never define Halifa Sallah. The presidency will not define Halifa Sallah. Halifa Sallah is already defined. All those positions are positions of service for Halifa Sallah. And that is known. We are trained that if to save country and people you have to bite the bullet, you will do so. The first person to do so. And it is proven. Wait until this history is written. Then you will know truly why 2016 ended the way it ended. And if that was not done, this country would have been like DRC today. And those who believe that it is just ECOWAS might that created this situation are mistaken. Here is Casamance. if ECOWAS entered in the wrong way, all those soldiers would have easily penetrated the Casamas, and a rebellion of the worst type would have been, and Gambia would have been lost forever. So those who do not love their country and their people can continue with what they are saying. But my conclusion and an answer to your question is, I've told people I will not give you answer to whether your call for me to come back or not will be answered. I said that is a tactical question because it is helping me to influence the future of the Gambia. If people still, I'm not putting myself, if people still say, come and influence the future, I said, yes, you are preparing me to be an elderly statesperson who will be relevant in Gambian politics, who will say something that people will believe, so that these myriad of people who are saying, come and help us to build coalition. Now, if people say, Halifa Sallah, come back, I can say, all those people who want to be leaders that would be committed to do what Halifa Sallah would have done, come, and we build what I recommended for President Barrow to do just when we took over, to build an expert bank. Come and be part of an expert bank so that we'll prepare the ground for the Gambia that Halifa Sallah envisaged, that the Doi envisaged. And we move steadily towards that. And I hope that if we move steadily towards that, when we say, this is the presidential candidate, people will support that presidential candidate. That is what I am here to affirm. And that is what this whole discourse had led me to resolve. I am now more resolved than ever that since I am relevant, that relevance will be translated into achieving the very goal of freeing the Gambian people from the shackles of poverty, shackles of injustice, and shackles of ignorance. That is the answer, Peter, that I will never be found to be a man who betrays who hears his words.
Okay.
That has never happened. It will never happen.
Fantastic.
How that is interpreted is left to people. But the misinterpretation we will continue to struggle against. Yes or no, Halifa will stand. That no DOI member should answer that question, because it's not coming from people who want the change we want. It's not coming from people who want us to utilize integrity for country and people. It is for people who just want something for themselves. So that should be clear. DOI members should ignore those people who said, let him be definite whether he will stand or not. We want a yes or no answer. That is not the issue. We will utilize this gain that we have, that Halifa should come back as a slogan. We'll transform it into a slogan of unifying everybody who love country and people to effect the system change that we've always stood for.
The standout statement for me is, you are a man who's never betrayed your word, and that will never, never happen.
Well, that is for you. For me, what I want people to bear in mind is that let them be wary of people who are saying Halifa should say this and that, to believe that Halifa is out of politics and will not serve country and people. I am cautioning that there are people who are not interested in Gambia and the people. They are interested in position, and they may see Halifa as a threat Forget about them.
Okay. Why is it difficult to answer the question directly with a yes or no? Is Halifa planning a comeback?
Because
yes or no?
Because it's tactically incorrect in politics to reject those who want you to lead them. You guide them towards understanding why certain things should not happen, to have integrity in a process. Is that clear? It's tactically incorrect to reject people who want you to perform certain roles. You have to retain them and guide them towards the direction of achieving the same aim for which they want you to fill a particular position.
You will still maintain this position even at the risk of losing those who want you to answer with a definite no.
I have not lost anybody. I have gained the type of people we've gained, and we move with those people until the day that it is very clear that Halifa Sallah has never, is not, and will never betray who he is.
Okay.
A man of his words, a man of integrity.
Fantastic. Please ask Mr. Sallah what he thinks about creating a system whereby government should be paying workers based on hours worked. It may reduce absences from work. Interesting topic for debate, Uncle Peter. What do you think when people are paid hourly?
Well, you see, payments must be prepared by a salary commission. And payment must be done on the basis of the quantity and quality of work done. But payment is about survival. And a society must be able to gauge what the standard of living of the society is. People must have food of good quality, water that is clean, have housing, and all the other things that are necessary. They must also be able to educate their children. You see, the more society take a responsibility and become a society of the people, then salary becomes easier to determine. But if the society is not the type of society that is really serving the interests of the people, then salary issues become a difficulty. So the first step is to create a society which exists for the people, that government exists for the people, which means that health must be taken charge of by government. Education must be taken charge of by government, so that when your child goes to school, he expects to get a very good meal in school. So therefore you are freeing the parents from actually preparing that food for the child. You provide transportation to the child, so the parent will no longer. So if you cut down all the other social expenses, health, education, and the country takes charge of that, because the country is a parent, it should take charge of that. Then you will see the next phase is, what do you need to feed the family at home and manage your day-to-day life, and ultimately also leisure when you have leave. That is a bread basket. You must look at your rice, your meat, all the things that will make a proper diet, and see how much will it cost to provide that. And all the services that are essential services, you determine it, and then you establish your minimum wage. Once you are capable of establishing your minimum wage, then the rest is based on the quantity and quality of work. And if you say hours, well, hour is one thing, but what do you do during that hour? That is also important. Are you going to be a mechanic? Are you going to be sweeping? So that hour must be determined, and then you must look at, the quantity and quality of work that is embedded in that must be accurately determined. And you say, well, then we can have a pay scale. This is grade 1, this is grade 8, properly scaled, fair and just. And of course, when you do that, the person must come to work this time and leave this time. And that is what you time. So the timing will be there, and the person, the work that the person should do would be known, because it will be assessed, because you must assess work. And through the assessment of work on a monthly basis, on a semi-annual basis, on an annual basis, you'll be able to determine promotions and rewards, etc., etc. So I don't know whether I've answered his question, but that is really how the system should function. You just don't say we pay hourly. You look at what the work entails and set the payment. And therefore the person is given a contract and must respect the contract. Now, certain type of work, you cannot pay hourly because they are very difficult. There are certain type of work that are very difficult, that the person may need to do for 1 week, and therefore would need to rest for another number of days because of the type of work that is done. So work must be assessed. I think the standard is pay people on the basis of the quantity and quality of work that they do. That is standard.
Fantastic. Good morning, Uncle Peter. What Uncle Halifa said about the dock workers is true, because we are paid in foreign currency. But Gambia Ports Authority pays us in dalasi, not even equivalent to the foreign currency rate. Even our lunch and dinner is paid in foreign currency. Please tell Uncle Halifa that we, the youths, want him to be back in politics, because we have no future. I think you are still in politics. What is that question is, in what capacity?
Is the question that is raised is a big debate. Yeah. I know the debate. But let them bear in mind that there is Halifa, the physical Halifa, and Halifa, the person who has real aspirations and interests and conviction. So what we want to create is a society where you have many Halifas with that determination, so that we save our country. What I can guarantee everybody is that we are working on that with tremendous effort to ensure that you will always have a Halifa that will struggle to make Gambia what it should be. That is what we have lived for and ready to die for. And before we go, we must ensure that we have that type of people and type of society. Hope is not lost.
Well, okay, you spoke about the dock worker situation. He was just,
Well, as I said, I insinuated, but they are the experts. They who lived it. I'm just carrying a message that I've heard. It's hearsay. And I promise you that I will contact people who will be able to give you information on this.
Fantastic.
And they have lived it, and let people listen to those people. Not what I have said. I'm just introducing the topic. And listen to those people, they'll give you the facts.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country, with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jam, si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Accina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Bisul mu fine. Wave, your money is yours.